SummerSlam's just 2 weeks away and they're all ours!
That's only 2 more weeks, bushwhackers, before you feel the typhoon splash and the earthquake. After all, how many times you get to take care of 2 bushwhackers and 1 giant in 1 night?
Whoa! Yay! Oh boy, Captain Luke, we're 2 weeks away from SummerSlam, from taking care of the natural disasters. Oh, and in our corner, Captain Luke, you know who it's gonna be.
Natural disaster, you will be stopped.
Yay!
Oh, welcome everybody to episode 33 of the Pseudo Nerd Podcast for August 19th, 2016. I am your podcast host, Josh Kiser, and joining me in the squared circle today is Josh. I wish I was the Rock Haddix.
How's everybody doing?
And Kyle. I wish I was Billy Mr. Ass Gun Hoagland.
I'm going to hold it in as much as I can, Kiser. What's up, everybody?
So how you guys doing tonight?
No. The better question is, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic. So I went to the Indians game tonight, and a customer took us out, so we've been drinking on his dime, and then we started doing shots after the game. And it is late. It is like Friday a.m. for us here.
I mean, it's literally Friday, August 19th.
It is very early before the podcast gets released, and I have been drinking all night, so I am feeling great.
Well, I'll tell you who's not feeling too great is me, considering that about 30 minutes from now is usually when I go to bed. So let's hope I don't have to do too much audio editing for this.
30 minutes is when you go to bed. I go to bed 2.5 hours prior to this recording right now.
Yeah, but you can't you can't argue because it's self-induced. You were out drinking.
Oh,
okay.
It's totally on me tonight. So I thank you, gentlemen, for keeping awake, keeping up, and letting me host the podcast tonight. Because there was a good chance you guys were going to run the SummerSlam review podcast that's going on tonight with yourselves, and instead you trooped it out and let me join in with you guys. So I appreciate that, and I think our fans will appreciate having the three of us record tonight's podcast.
That's adorable. Really, really is.
All right. So I can see that even though I've been drinking tonight, we still have a shitty podcast that we're producing. So
I mean, that's
good job all around.
No amount of alcohol is going to improve. Is going to improve that. But I'm going to admit something. I had to watch about 3 weeks worth of Raws and SmackDowns in the past 2 days because I have not been keeping up with it, and that's on me. I am caught up now as far as just making sense of why the card exists. We'll talk more about that, but I did want to just get out there and say that I did as much as I could to be up to date with everything for this upcoming pay-per-view, the biggest blowout party of the summer, or whatever the hell the headline thing for SummerSlam this year is. It's always the biggest blank of the summer.
It should be, we wish we were Bash at the Beach, but we're not Party of the Summer.
Oh, you really think Bash at the Beach was a better ticket seller than SummerSlam?
Bash at the Beach is when Hulk Hogan joined the NWO as the third member. So yes, I think it is by far the best summer pay-per-view of all time.
Wow,
based on one pay-per-view.
That pay-per-view is above and beyond all pay-per-views of all time.
So that particular one, or you're saying that yearly was the better pay-per-view?
No, I'm saying, first of all, that pay-per-view is up there with SummerSlam. But Bash at the Beach, what was it, 95, is by and far the most influential pay-per-view of all time.
I want to say it was 96.
You think that was bigger than the double heel turn with Stone Cold and Bret Hart, which basically created Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Well, that wasn't SummerSlam though.
No, I'm just going with the whole. It was the best pay-per-view of all time, or most influential, whatever Kiser just said.
I'll give Kiser that Bash at the Beach was probably the biggest. Yeah, Bash at the Beach 96 was probably the most influential pay-per-view of all time.
Pay-per-view of all time, right?
So more than the Stone Cold heel turn.
No, easily.
Yes,
it easily
absolutely.
is.
It's not even comparable. When Hogan, who was Hulkamania and the biggest babyface of all time, turned heel, it's like John Cena of now became a bad guy, but increased like tenfold, became a bad guy. And in all honesty, when the NWO became Hogan, Nash, and Hall, and everybody else, that was the turning point for WCW to make the Monday Night Wars and become if nothing else, like the bigger of the two businesses. Absolutely. I would say Bash at the Beach 96 is the all-time biggest turn and most influential pay-per-view of all fucking time.
Put a stamp on it.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, is there an argument that's not the biggest pay-per-view of all time?
I mean, I think if I had more time, I could probably give you some that might give it a run for its money. But no, directly right now, 96 Bash at the Beach, I can't think of anything that gets close to it. I mean, I could be missing things, and obviously we're not here to talk about that, so I don't know. I'm not prepared to have that argument.
No, we're not, and I agree with you there. We're not planning on talking about that, but in quick discussion, Hogan turning heel and becoming the leader of the NWO, which fueled the Monday Night Wars between WCW and WWF at the time, now WWE. How can there not be a bigger turning point storyline pay-per-view of all time? I mean, I don't know if there could be the bigger moment in history of wrestling sports entertainment.
No, I agree. That was the thing that created. I mean, honestly, it created a reason to have the Monday Night Wars, because at the time, neither one of them really appeared to be like going after each other. But that moment created so much of a shift that it made everybody else have to do different things to keep up.
Absolutely did. I mean, it shifted the direction of both organizations going for the future, and it where they were then molded how they are now. So I'm going to stick with that July 16th, July 15th, 1996 may have been the most important moment in all of wrestling history.
That will be interesting. We might have to do some research on that later, but yeah. I never really watched WCW, so I can't, really chime in. So,
well, I feel like in 96, wrestling in itself was meh from both sides. To be completely honest, I was not watching in 96. I kind of stopped watching.
I mean, if Kyle's not watching in 1996, then like America's not watching in 1996.
Yeah, that's the truth.
So, I mean, that's.
I think the last thing I watched and was paying attention to was with the last match that Hogan was in WWF, which was King of the Ring 94, King of the Ring 95, one of the two. It was one where he lost because Yokozuna had like some guy blast a camera in Hogan's eyes or something and won the title. So other than that, then I came back right after WrestleMania 98.
Well, we're not here to talk about WrestleMania 98. We're not here to talk about Bash of the Beach 96. We're here to talk about SummerSlam 2016. And, you know, when it comes down to it, the history is what it is. One of the interesting things as we go ahead and review the card that is going to be SummerSlam 2016, we want to take a few minutes here and talk about the brand split, which will, something that has happened in the past. Raw and SmackDown became their own independent federations, if you want to think about it that way. They had a draft and they said, hey, this player and this guy and this wrestler and this girl, we're going to be part of this organization. These ones are part of this organization. What did you guys think about the brand split in general?
I think it was good for business. On what we were just talking about, wrestling was at its best during the Monday Night Wars when there was competition. Since then, there's some other wrestling companies, but I mean, WWE is by far the largest. They really don't have any competition. I feel like the content was getting stagnant. Some of the stories were whatever. People didn't really care. And I feel like even though it's the same company, it's a brand split, I think competition is good. I think it's already been better since the brand split. And I think it just will be good going from here on out with the brand split.
I think it's a very easy way to hit the reset button. I'm not saying that I'm against it. I think it was necessary. I think it gives, hopefully it'll give more people that we like and maybe not getting so much TV time the opportunity to have it. But I always feel like there's a hidden compartment to that where maybe the writing is not there. Maybe the feuds that are currently in existence are just not doing it. And it's just, instead of trying to force feed something that we don't really want or think it's not worth it, they just say, what, screw it. We're just going to just throw it, make a dumpster fire out of this and then split everything up and start over. I liked it when they did it at the beginning, years ago when they were doing the draft. It was always interesting, but I don't think it's competition. I mean, it's not true competition. It's the same writers as far as I know. And it's not like jobs are on the line. The Monday Night Wars competition was, people are out there to hopefully have a job the next day. It's not the case here. So, I don't know if there's like maybe a rekindled, motivation for these guys to do better because now they have more time to be able to be on their respected brand's show. But, I do believe that the reason why they did this was because nothing else was working.
I'll agree with you that I think that it is definitely different than the Monday Night Wars because back then it was WWF or WWE versus WCW, and there was definitely a brand split. Hey, it's cutthroat. We want to beat the other competition.
Yeah, there was real hatred in that one. Right.
Here it's Raw versus SmackDown, and it's like, hey, we want to support SmackDown. Hey, we want to support Raw. So there's definitely like more of it's like, hey, you want to support your brother, but you still want to beat him in the competition kind of thing. Where previously it was like, I want to beat the guy down the street, and he wants to beat me. It was much more cutthroat. You're fighting for your job. So I'll give you that. But that said, I still think there's a pride taken into, I was drafted, I use drafted very loosely. It was like, hey, you're going to go for Raw, you're going to go for Team SmackDown. But I feel like Team SmackDown and Team Raw are competing against each other because they want to have a better show. And, Daniel Bryan was hired in as the GM for SmackDown, and Mick Foley was hired in as the GM for Raw. So there's definitely some draw for each end of of those aspects. But they want, whether they want to come out in a minute, Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan want to have a better show than Stephanie and Mick Foley. So they want to utilize their people better, and they're writing different storylines. They're producing a different show altogether. I mean, like SmackDown now, even when it comes to the wrestlers entering the ring, they have different entrances. Like they have a statistics that pop up that says, like, you know, whoever it is comes out and it's like, oh, they were King of the Ring 2017 winner, or they're, you know, a 2-time Intercontinental champion. You know,
what year was he King of the Ring champion?
He's a champion of the future. So that's why I said that.
I got you.
But I mean, it's things like that, you know, there's production differences between SmackDown and Raw. And I think they want to make a different show. And I think SmackDown, the people who are on SmackDown want to have better ratings, want to have a better show than Raw. So I do think they're competing against each other. So I think it's a good thing that they created these two different brands. You know, they had this brand split. And on top of that, I think it also allows them to showcase themselves better. So if you have a guy who's like a mid-carder, you know, let's take
how about Cesaro?
Cesaro. Okay, let's take a Cesaro character who, when you have, let's say, 30 people who are major players in wrestling, they split it apart. Now he's only one of 15 players. He can showcase his talents better and become a bigger star on that particular show or faction. So I think it's a great thing that they split these people up, and it allows them to not only showcase particular wrestlers more, but it also gives them a chance to be a main player of that particular show. So I think it's a great thing that they've been able to split these brands between each other.
And before we get too much into this particular topic, I think the only thing I also liked about this was that they moved SmackDown to Raw, which I think was a big deal because, I'm sorry, they moved SmackDown to USA. I was
like, what are you?
They're both on the same network, which I think is also a big deal for just normal people who watch cable television. Not everybody had back when, like, they were on Sci-Fi or whatever the other channels they were on at some point. To put them both on the same kind of time period, just on a different day. It's basically Monday and Tuesday, same times. So because of that, it's almost like that's the best way to try and create, compare the ratings and, you know, how well they're performing, because the moment that you have one show on, I guess to say, a much broader, more popular TV network, then you put somebody else on a Sci-Fi network or whatever, then it's going to be different. Just automatically, the people who watch that channel just aren't going to be interested in watching wrestling as is. USA, at this point, has been the mecca of watching wrestling for, 20 plus years. So it's good to have both shows on the same channel.
So that said, before we move into the SummerSlam card and start reviewing it, briefly, do you guys think there's been a difference between the two cards, and a preference on what you think has been a better faction or division than the other?
I kind of would side with, and I don't watch them as religiously as you guys do. I've only caught a couple, but I think SmackDown tends to be better for multiple reasons. It's shorter, which I think a lot of people want Raw to go back to 2 hours, but you just can't do that right now with the amount of money and shit that's into Raw and all that. Whatever reasons you can't do that, I don't know. But I like that, and I like the kind of freshness to it. Like you guys were saying, it moved to USA. It's now live on Tuesdays. I think it just became this new thing, where as good as Raw is, it's kind of the same thing, just with a shorter roster now. So, not that it's bad. It's just kind of similar to what it was, and SmackDown seems really fresh and new.
When you cut the roster in half,
agree.
I feel like, unless they can really create 3 hours of quality, a quality product, which I'll be honest, they were stretching it with the full roster as was.
Yeah.
So, I think the next step would be to put them back down to 2 hours if possible, because there's just way too much unnecessary filter and promos. And maybe that's the reason why they do it, where SmackDown's more, content rich with matches and everything. And then, Raw is kind of like they have matches, they have a lot of promos, and they also have a lot of recaps. So that would be what that 1 hour would be. If that's the case, that's fine. But if they're gonna invest 3 hours, then it better be 3 hours worth our time.
That's one thing, you make a good point about the recaps. That's one thing that has been eliminated, is they haven't done the recaps like they used to, where Raw was a 3-hour show, and an hour and a half of it was like, hey, why don't you go ahead and watch what we showed you 20 minutes ago, or an hour ago. And that's one thing they don't do as much, and especially with SmackDown, 2 hours is almost the ideal amount of time. And that's something Raw, like, you wish they could dial back to 2 hours. They're not going to because of sponsors and things like that, but it's a perfect amount of time to showcase the wrestlers of the week, the storylines, they push this and that, and you're over and done with. And SmackDown does a great job of manipulating their 2 hours, and something SmackDown can't, or Raw has not been able to do for their 3 hours. And I think part of that is because it is an extra hour of television that they need to schedule accordingly. And that is one reason why I think SmackDown is leading in the, quote unquote, war between SmackDown and Raw.
Yeah, it's when you condense the content to an appropriate amount of time, then it's more, first of all, you remember more because it's more what you're interested in a more compact space. So so far I would give the edge a little bit to SmackDown. Also just for the sake that a lot of the people that I like are on SmackDown too. So I think the draft was pretty even, but I mean, just from my own personal taste, honestly, SmackDown actually has a roster I like more.
All right, well, let's just go ahead and get into the SummerSlam matchups and kind of preview all of them. And, we can debate the SmackDown and Raw thing as we go through. And we'll start with what should be the main event for SummerSlam. And that is Eva Marie, Natalya, Alexis Bliss versus Carmella, Naomi, and Becky Lynch. And let me add to this, and something you guys may or may not know if you have not followed up on it. Eva Marie has been recently suspended as of a couple hours ago for the wellness policy.
Yep.
So, why don't you give your predictions and thoughts on this triple threat or 6-woman tag match bonanza?
Hogan and I were talking about this a little bit earlier, whether Eva Marie is replaced with somebody or it becomes a handicap match. Either way, I think Carmella, Naomi, and Becky Lynch win. For the reasons I don't know. Again, another thing Hogan and I were talking about, they seem to throw these six women tag matches in here just to get these girls on the card, which I guess is cool, but really doesn't do anything for the storyline, because it's not like these 6 girls are going to fight all the time together. So, and
not to mention they're all on different brands. They're mixed together. And it's just, when you look at the card itself, and I'm not trying to be a woman hater, I think the women's division is better than it's been in a long, long, long time. But I think the thing that I look at when I see that this is a match that was put in, which is, putting 6 women from the women's division, is where's Sami Zayn? Where's Cesaro? You can't find anything to put them on the card for any reason, but you want to just throw in.
Aren't all these women on SmackDown? Or am I wrong?
I know at the very least Natalya and are they all on SmackDown? Who's on Raw? Just the champion and Sasha Banks?
I think they're all on SmackDown. Yeah. I do think it's a SmackDown matchup.
Yeah.
But
And it sucks because I like Becky Lynch, but I mean, she's not going to really be able to shine in a 6-woman tag match. So
no, but I think she will. Honestly, I think she's going to be one to get the pinfall in this matchup. And one thing, so Eva Marie, as terrible as she's been and this and that, like, she failed the wellness policy, and I think the WWE is going to play well into this. I would not be shocked if she has the way they've been playing her is like she has this big grand entrance. She comes out, it's like, the most beautiful diva in the world. Oh, she's the strongest. She's the most amazing. And then they come out and they're like, oh, Eva Marie is stuck in traffic. She can't make tonight's matchup. I would not be shocked if they come out and they introduce everybody and they're like, Eva Marie, she's the strongest, most attractive. And she failed tonight's wellness policy, so she can't fight tonight. And they fight a 3-on-2, and Carmella, Naomi, and Becky Lynch win. But it's one of those, like, people continue to hate Eva Marie because, like, oh, she never wants to wrestle. She becomes this, like, sort of mystique sort of character. And I think they could play into the fact that she failed the wellness test with the storyline they've already been pushing. So I'm very interested, even though it's going to be like a warm-up dark match of the card, I'm interested to see how they play off Eva Marie's character because they've been doing so well with a character who's like, look, she's hot, but she's a fucking terrible wrestler. So I'm very curious to see how they continue to push it because, like, she's getting, like, X-Pac kind of heat.
Oh, X-Pac was the worst.
And
I liked X-Pac. What's with the bashing of X-Pac?
I never liked X-Pac.
X-Pac heat, dude. I mean, that's like just terminology right there. Like, X-Pac had a form of heat where it was like, they didn't care whether he was good or bad as a wrestler. They just hated him as a person and a character. And I feel like that's how it is for Eva Marie. Like, if Eva Marie was like a hideous wildebeest, people would despise her. The fact that she's hot, like, they give her a little bit of a break, but she's a fucking terrible wrestler. She can't speak on the mic, and they're pushing that as her character on SmackDown.
Which is smart. So
if they roll her failing of the wellness policy into the card, I think that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't think they've ever done that. Would be unprecedented if they decided to air out a wrestler's dirty laundry about failing a wellness.
To be fair, they did a little bit with Roman Reigns when he failed his, and he had that triple threat with Rollins and Ambrose.
Well, yeah, I mean they're gonna let people know because they announce it on their website. So
but I'm saying they talked about it there, so I wouldn't, if it, to me that the precedent, the fact that they talked about it leading up to that triple threat at Battleground leads me to believe like it's not, it's fair game for them to discuss it going into this triple threat match for a dark match.
I feel like we've spent more time on this match than will actually be aired on the pay-per-view. So who you guys' pick?
That's fair. I'm going to pick Carmella, Naomi, and Becky Lynch. I think Becky Lynch gets the pin here.
Hoagie? I'm writing these down, and we'll give a
I got
we'll give a recap next week about who was right.
I think I wish I knew what they were going to do with this match, because if they were to replace Eva Marie with somebody else, especially maybe it's like a surprise person.
If you want to think she gets replaced with, let's even say the who's the ponytailed girl from NXT?
Maurice or whatever?
No.
Are you thinking of Emma?
No, the girl who gives hugs to everybody.
Oh God, she was in the last pay-per-view.
She was in the last pay-per-view, right?
Oh fuck!
I can't think of her name.
I think they're gonna do. Who are you picking, Hoagie?
All right. Well, I'm saying if it's gonna be a 3-on-2, then yes, I'm not going with the two. So I'll go with Carmella, Naomi, Becky Lynch. I'm curious to see what they are gonna do with it.
So if it is 3-on-3, are you picking the other three or?
No, I'd probably still pick Carmella, Naomi, and Becky Lynch, to be honest.
All right.
Just to push Becky Lynch for the most part. And Kiser, I'm assuming the same for you?
Yeah, he already picked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I picked Becky Lynch.
Yeah, we're all picking Team Becky Lynch. That's
and
my
by
girl.
the way, Bayley is the girl I was trying to
Bayley. Yeah.
So if Bayley, let's say, replaces Eva Marie for some reason. I don't think she would because I feel like they're heels.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Like a bit Bliss, but it is what it is. It's a dark match. Let's move on. The next match on the card is New Day versus the Club for the tag team titles. I've actually enjoyed the way they've been bringing this up. The Club have sort of had that immature, they keep bringing up balls and like hitting you in the dick sort of comment, trying to keep it PG. And I think the Club is going to take down the New Day because the New Day has had the title for like 350 plus days. They're the longest reigning tag team champions of that particular title. And I think it's about time they lose. And I think Balor Club or the Club, whatever you want to call them, Gallows and Anderson, I think it's about time that somebody else wins the tag titles. So I'm predicting them to win this one.
I am going to agree with you, Kiser. The New Day have had the title long enough that I think losing it doesn't hurt them at all. And also, isn't there a stipulation where Big E's not allowed at ringside or some shit?
The storyline is that he's injured.
Yeah, so especially if he's not there to help them win, I think it even makes it even more, logical or whatever that New Day loses. It's time to just change things up a little bit, make the tag team champions fucking heels, I am also picking Anderson and Gallows.
See, my initial thought would be, yes, New Day has had the titles for way too long. They're due to get them, taken away or losing at this point. But it's professional wrestling. I feel like just as of right now, the normal predictions are wrong. So like the very opposite could happen, obviously. So with the fact that Big E is out,
this guy like giving the 50-50.
I know.
Like, they could win, but the obvious.
No, I'm just saying the obvious the obvious would be that New Day, loses. But because it's so obvious, I can see that just for the sake of keeping people surprised, I can see them maybe holding it at the pay-per-view and maybe losing it on Raw the next day. That type of thing. So with that, I'll say New Day retains.
All right. So he's picking New Day. So let's just keep moving on. We got a lot of matches to go through, so we're just going to keep chucking through. The next we got here is Rusev versus Roman Reigns.
Rusev,
for the US
who?
Title. Rusev.
Okay.
Honestly, if you've watched this feud at all, Rusev is like defending his newly wedded wife, Lana, and Roman Reigns has kind of been the dickhead who's like trying to interrupt the wedding and is trying to like interfere with things, and Rusev's like trying to protect his country and his girl. So like Rusev has almost become a face in this whole thing, but he's not because he's defending this evil woman and defending his country, which is in America. And Roman Reigns is like, oh, fuck your woman and fuck your country, because that's like the American way. So Rusev is supposed to be the hero and the face of this, but if you think about it, he shouldn't be, but he is. And let's be honest, Roman Reigns is getting that push, and the fact that they pushed him down to the U.S. title is sort of his punishment for failing this policy. He's winning this match, and he's going to be U.S. champion, and that's where I stand on that.
That's exactly what I had written down. I think him winning the U.S. title is a way to keep him relevant without having him in the main title run. Like you said, I think it is a little bit of a, punishment, I guess, if you want to use that word for what he's done. But I think it keeps him relevant for a title run later. And plus, Rusev did technically officially get married in real life, didn't he? So like, maybe he wants some time off to go spend with his woman.
I mean, Rusev and Lana got married.
Yeah, so
it would shock me if the two were like written off of the storyline.
Yeah, for a couple weeks or something. Yeah. So
give him a little honeymoon time.
I think it's definitely Reigns with the win.
Does anyone find it weird that Mick Foley made this match after Reigns interrupted the wedding celebration? Like, that's a really weird way to give someone a title shot. Like, if you think that you're doing something as like
Mick Foley's job as GM has been very pedestrian. Like,
that's Foley. I mean, Foley's always been that for the most part. I mean, just his normal personality is rather pedestrian. But regardless, I'm on the side that Roman Reigns wins, but only because I think they're going to write off Rusev for now, because I think he wants to take time with, being with his wife. But if that wasn't the case, I actually probably would have said Rusev would retain against Roman Reigns because of punishing Roman Reigns for failing the wellness. But yeah, I would say the putting you down to the United States title when you were, before a main eventer,
the golden boy, yeah.
Then the United States is your punishment.
I will say that if in the event Rusev wins, I think that catapults him to being the number one contender for the world title, being the top heel for
a win
Raw,
would be good for Rusev.
right?
Honestly, it would be good for him. So that's why I'm going back and forth with it, but I would still say Roman wins, but would not be shocked if Rusev won.
I feel like if
it would benefit him at this point probably just as much as Roman Reigns.
But I feel like if they have Rusev win clean, I think that shows that they, I don't want to say gave up on Reigns, but I mean, they really are punishing him if they have
I
Rusev
think they're
win.
punishing him at that point. I don't think they gave up on him, but I think they're punishing.
That's low.
I think they also just need to put him back in the shuffle a bit and have him sharpen himself. I mean, like I said, he was hand chosen. No one liked that. He, catapulted himself to being a main eventer and a superstar when a lot of us felt that wasn't yet, justified or well earned, especially by the fans. So if you knock him down a few pegs, it kind of humbles the guy and it makes him work harder and makes him work on himself. Then I'm all for it. And then when he comes back up, it's kind of like the whole die Rocky die and then he becomes the Rock type of thing. If he can find this way to get out of this and become something better, then by all means lose to Rusev. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you, but I still think they're going to give Reigns the victory here.
Yeah,
and I do too.
Reigns. Yeah.
So we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Let's move on, and that's not Paige herself, who has been suspended for blowing coke off of Alberto Del Rio's dick with him, but that's a whole other argument. Enzo and Cass versus Y2JKO, Kevin Owens and Jericho. Not much to say about this. I think this is a way for Kevin Owens, who's been a phenomenal heel, and Jericho, who's been on probably his best run in years as a heel. I think this is the way to kind of elevate Enzo and Cass. I'm giving Enzo and Cass the win here. I don't know if there's much to talk about with this feud, other than it's a good way for all of them to get some mic time and elevation, and I think Enzo and Cass will be the future of the tag team division, but, for now, they're just going to, have a win at SummerSlam that doesn't mean anything in the title picture.
Yep, I'm also picking Enzo and Cass. I don't see any reason to have Y2J and Kevin Owens to beat them. They're the hottest tag team right now. Everyone loves them. I mean, Y2J and Kevin Owens are not going to be a constant tag team for the next year. So why have them lose?
And I don't think them losing is going to hurt either of their characters.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I could see Y2J and Kevin Owens losing and them getting into a fight about it, and then that starts a feud between them two. There's just no reason for Enzo and Cass to lose this, especially clean.
Agree.
So
yep.
I'm picking Enzo and Cass.
Jericho and Owens win this match, and I don't think they're going to win it cleanly. I think there'll be a little bit of dirtiness involved with it, whether it's like a ref not looking correctly or whatever. I don't think it's going to be clean. and I think that hurts nobody. And I think the reason why I say that is that looking at the history of Jericho, looking at Jericho and his nomadic mercenary tag team career, it's actually been pretty damn good. Unless he's there to push somebody like AJ Styles and losing and then, turning on him. I think they do find a way to beat Enzo and Big Cass, and I think that they have another match, moving forward, maybe on Raw or whatever the case may be. Are they on SmackDown?
So you don't think the feud ends at SummerSlam?
I think if Enzo and Cass win, I think that's it. I think that's whatever. That was just like a match to have 4 really good guys, 4 good workers have a match. But I think Jericho and Owens do win in a kind of shady fashion, and because of that, I think another match will happen where Enzo and Big Cass one up them. But on SummerSlam, I say Jericho and Owens win.
Well, that's probably the first upset of the card so far, called by Mr. Hoagland.
Indeed.
Moving on, we have the Intercontinental title matchup for the SmackDown Intercontinental title between Apollo Crews and The Miz. The Miz, to me, has been a great mid-card heel. I think he will continue to be a great mid-card heel, but I think Apollo Crews has been being pushed for quite some time, and this is the moment where he gets his championship to conclude his push. Give me Apollo Crews.
This one was tough for me because I agree with everything you said, but for some reason I have a feeling that they're going to make The Miz win in some real shitty way. And in doing so, we'll still kind of push Crews. Like, Crews will beat his ass the whole time or something like that. And then The Miz will win some cheap way, and it'll kind of continue this feud going type of deal. But it wouldn't surprise me one bit if it happened exactly how you said. So, but for what it's worth,
I would be okay with it if The Miz won.
And I could see it going either way. I'm not going to be shocked either way, but I'm going to pick The Miz for my pick.
I think The Miz wins, and I don't think there's any good reason for Apollo Crews to win the title yet. I think The Miz has had his best work in years so far. I think he's been doing a great job. I think he deserves the Intercontinental title, which is a hard thing for me to swallow and say.
I think The Miz has been a phenomenal heel for about the last year or two.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, he's always been around. As far as the
mid-card heel goes.
But I think his work, overall his work has been very, very good. And I don't think it's right to take the title from him quite yet. So for me, I think this will be, once, like I said it before about Enzo and Cass and Jericho and Kevin Owens, I think The Miz wins. I agree with Haddix. I think Apollo will show off an impressive display and do very well. I think Miz finds a way for like either a roll up or maybe some cheap interference from Maurice. I think he will hold on to the title. I think this will continue into Survivor Series, where at that point maybe Apollo takes it. But this match, fair. I go The Miz.
That's fair. We'll see what happens. I think this is Apollo Crews' push. If he loses here, I think he gets buried for a while, but we'll see what happens. We got a lot to go with, so we'll continue going on. The next matchup, one of the headliners, AJ Styles versus John Cena.
Was like part 5? How many times they wrestled at this point?
This is the rubber match, I thought this was 3.
I feel like this is the first time they've matched up one-on-one without any interference from one side or the other.
Well, sure. I mean, I think they've had 2 one-on-one matches at least, where I know at least one. No, that's not a rubber match. Then he beat Cena a couple of pay-per-views ago, or last pay-per-view, and then I think then that Enzo Cass Cena, the club match where Cena pinned AJ Styles.
Right.
So now, in a sense, I guess it's a rubber match.
Give me AJ Styles in this one. I think they're trying to push AJ Styles to be one of the top heels for SmackDown. I think this is his opportunity to sort of be one of the top guys of SmackDown and be one of the top guys for the WWE. John Cena gains nothing by beating AJ Styles other than just fucking burying AJ Styles. So consider this sort of a wrestling fan in me, and then also just a gut that AJ Styles wins this match. Maybe the club interferes. It doesn't matter. I think AJ Styles over John Cena.
Yep, I'm also going AJ Styles. Don't think at this point Cena is who he is. I don't think losing to AJ Styles will hurt because he's a great wrestler. I actually think he wins clean over Cena too. And I agree with you. I think they're going to push him hard.
I think they're both good enough by themselves. They don't need pushes. And with that said, Super Cena wins.
Hoagland just going totally against me over the last couple of picks. Let's see if we agree on the next matchup. Cesaro versus Sheamus having a best of 7.
Are they doing all 7, or this is just match 1?
This is match 1.
This is match 1 of the 7. If you remember, Kyle, the TV title between Benoit and Booker T back in the day was the best of 7. I actually really enjoyed that as a fan. So I'm kind of looking forward to this best of 7 matchup. I think it's an interesting concept. Something that's been done before, but not all the time. I'm looking forward to it. I think Cesaro is going to win the best of 7, but I think he loses match 1 against Sheamus at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I don't think it matters who wins because it's the best of 7, so anything could happen. But I am also going to pick Sheamus. I think they started off with like Cesaro on the defensive because he loses his first match.
And this is by far the most uninteresting match.
Yeah.
And because it's a best of 7 series, I agree with you that I really liked the Finlay
or the women's match.
No,
this is not the least interesting.
All right. Fine. All right. Second least interesting. And the problem, see, I liked Finlay and I liked Booker T that best 7, but it was for something. You know what I mean? There was surprise at the end of this. This is nothing but just 2 guys that have no direction right now, and they're going to put them in a best of 7. I could give 2 shits who wins. I'll say also Sheamus. This is where Sami Zayn needs to be on this card.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of people, Sami Zayn probably leading it, that are not on the card that you could argue should be. So are we all into the Sheamus bandwagon here?
Yep. Celtic Warrior.
Okay.
Celtic.
So there you go. Next matchup, the Women's Championship. Sasha Banks versus Charlotte. Obviously, Sasha Banks won pretty recently on an episode of Raw in a great matchup. I think they have another good matchup here. I think Sasha retains. No Dana Brooke at ringside. I think Charlotte is just sort of getting her title defense here. I think Sasha's going to hold on for a little bit. I think in the meantime, they want to have a couple meaningful matches. This is the beginning of that, but Sasha retains.
This is, to use a fantasy, or actually a football thing, I don't know, whatever the fuck. This is my lock of the week, or pay-per-view. I don't think, I'm picking Sasha Banks. I don't think there's any way Charlotte wins. I think it would kill Sasha Banks' character. No one wants to see Charlotte win after her long-ass title reign that she had. I think they have Sasha Banks win, and I don't know how long she holds on to it, but to me, there's no way that Charlotte wins.
Sasha retains, but I actually think that it's going to end in a way where Charlotte comes out really bad. Whereas maybe instead of Charlotte losing, cleanly, maybe Charlotte does, goes like goes just complete asshole and maybe hits her with a chair or cheats, throws her in something. I think that's how that's going to end the match. I actually think this could be a DQ match, to be honest. A good match, but I think it doesn't end with a clean win. But Sasha retains the title regardless.
All right. All Sasha.
So we're all on the same board there.
Yep.
Let's move on. We have what could be considered the main event. It probably won't be, but the WWE World Title, Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler. I gotta be honest, I'm shocked Dolph Ziggler is in the main event. I think it's been a great lead up between the two of them. I think it's been the best lead up for a title or main event or SummerSlam, but I think it's going to be overshadowed by the other two matches we're going to be discussing. I think Dean Ambrose is going to retain. I think Ziggler is just more or less there to impress the smarks. Give me Dean Ambrose.
I will also take Dean Ambrose. I mean, the WWE has kind of solidified that they don't want Ziggler being a champion. Plus, I think Ambrose is just on the rise right now. Why cut him off with a Ziggler? As much as I love him, I'd love to see him win. But I'm also going to have to go with Dean. Mean Dean.
This reminds me of when CM Punk had the title and he faced Daniel Bryan when Daniel Bryan was still a little green, and they always said like, "Oh, give him a chance," and they ended up having a great match. CM Punk retained, in a weird fashion. I think that was one where it was like a tap out plus pin at the same time, so it was like a draw. But it was there to create, because they knew the two of them would create a good match with each other. I think Ambrose and Ziggler are going to be able to have good chemistry in the ring, and that's why Ziggler's in there. Ziggler is like the modern day Shawn Michaels, both. I mean, just looking at him, he looks like a younger Shawn Michaels, but I think also in the sense that he can raise the level of Dean Ambrose and create an even better match with it. Because Ambrose so far has been used to just fighting his other Shield guys. So it's good to put somebody like Ziggler in there. I think Ambrose retains as well.
All right, all Ambrose.
All right, moving on, we have what is the SmackDown versus Raw matchup. I think this is going to be something you're going to see in the future for all major pay-per-views. As far as the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series go, I think there's going to be a SmackDown versus Raw matchup. Here it is Randy Orton representing SmackDown versus Brock Lesnar representing Raw. Brock Lesnar, till this point, has been pushed as the most undefeatable, undisputable, dominant beast champion man. He did fail a wellness policy after his UFC matchup where he won. Had he not failed that, I think it would have been a no-brainer. He wins this. I now am starting to believe that Randy Orton might sneak out a win to push Randy Orton as a top heel. Even though he's a face right now, I think he's going to win this, and I think he's going to turn big heel. Give me Randy Orton upsetting Brock Lesnar.
Wow. I don't see any way that you can have Lesnar lose clean with his career. I do get what you're saying with all the drug policy and stuff, so it wouldn't surprise me. But I can't see it. The only thing I could see happening is some type of foul play, DQ. He does turn heel and he beats the fucking shit out of Lesnar with something. I don't know. I'm picking Lesnar. I can't see it happening.
At SummerSlam, there have been 7 return matches where somebody has been gone for at least 6 months, and the record is 6-1 as far as the person returning winning. That said, I will go with Lesnar coming away with a victory.
I like how you did that.
I for no real reason other than
I'm not.
I do agree. I think Orton's going to go heel, and I think it's because, first of all, he's awkward as a face. He's so awkward as a face. And 2, I think he's being awkward on purpose. I think he's having fun being a face and then going to turn heel where he's much more comfortable. But I still think Lesnar comes out with a win, but I don't think Orton comes out of this looking like he gets, stomped.
Yeah.
In classic,
That's
Brock
fair.
Lesnar opponent fashion.
I'm kind of out on a limb picking this one. I feel like if Lesnar's gonna win a match, this is gonna be where it's gonna happen. If Lesnar wins this time at SummerSlam, he's never fucking losing the rest of the time he has a contract. That's just how it is. So, it'll be interesting. Give me Randy Orton on a big upset there. But I could definitely agree with you guys that I could see Brock Lesnar winning. And then leading into the final matchup, Raw decided because they don't have a champion, they're going to create a new title, the Universal Championship, which, by the way, I love that Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon are making fun of it because it deserves to be made fun of.
Yes.
The fact that
corny as hell.
It's totally corny as fuck. I understand why they chose that because they've been using the WWE universe, so it's like, oh, we have this universe, let's make a Universal Championship. It's still corny as fuck. Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. I love Finn. Seth is winning this matchup. He is the guy they've wanted champion until he got hurt. He got the title kind of taken away from him when he got hurt. They're giving him the title back. He will be the Universal Championship of Raw. Book it now. That's the bottom line.
Because Kiser said so. This is a tough one for me. I could see everything you just said and don't disagree with any of it. But for some reason, I'm picking Finn Balor. I think they're going to try to go with I think leading up to this match, after Ambrose and Reigns win, they're going to push this whole Shield. Shield is going to have 3 titles bullshit. And I think Finn Balor's going to win. I think him winning, the crowd's going to explode. It's going to be a great ending to SummerSlam. My pick is Finn Balor.
That is exactly what I thought. I have Finn on my list too, because I think that's the way it should end. I think it should end with Seth Rollins, being shocked that he lost and, being beside himself and, I guess disappointing Stephanie. And I think that's just the way it should. I think that's the way that the card should end, is on a high note. There's no real beef between Seth Rollins and Finn. So because of that, a Seth Rollins win doesn't do anything for Seth.
Is there poultry between those two?
What?
I said, is there poultry between those
Jesus,
two?
all right.
Not beef.
This guy. Couldn't wait. We're almost done with this podcast. But yeah, I'm on Hax's side, and I say Finn, but because that's the way I think that's the best way for SummerSlam to end, is with Finn winning the title.
And I think that, and I agree with what you said. I think that makes a great feud between the two of them going forward.
So,
especially if Reigns wins the U.S. title.
Yeah.
So let's be honest. You guys are pretty much almost 100% with your predictions between each other, right?
We have a couple different. I feel like towards the beginning of this, you and I were picking a lot of the same, and then towards the end, it was Hougie and I. So
interesting. We'll have to. It's very curious to see how this.
I'll say I have them all written down. So
we're all over the place. At the end of the day, I'm very curious to see how we turn things.
There will be a clear cut winner to this. Last time we did this, I think you and I tied. So there'll be a clear cut.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Real quick, I know we're kind of getting towards the end here. I personally, I'll be interested to see what you guys think. I think this is a very intriguing card. I think it's not stale. I think it's very new and fresh. I think overall, top to bottom, it's much more interesting than what WrestleMania was this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing where they take things all across the board. And while I think I'm 100% of my predictions, there could be some, maybe they get cold feet and they think that what I said is not going to happen. It should. Overall, I think SummerSlam is a more interesting card than WrestleMania was this year.
I just like SummerSlam because I feel like that is the, if you're talking about from like a TV show, this would be like the halfway point, like, the mid-season finale, where I think we're really getting an idea of what's on the horizon. And this card just screams that, where you have a lot of people that you did not see at all at WrestleMania, or you've probably never even heard of until or wasn't even on this roster and, at WrestleMania time. So it's always nice and refreshing to see not the same names fighting the same names, over and over in the bigger cards. So there's a lot of diversity in this card. And I think for the most part, even though a lot of us had very similar thoughts on who's going to win, I think there's only like maybe 2 locks that I think we agree with wins in this. And that's good. That's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree completely. It'll be an interesting card. And I'm interested to see how it goes. I think overall, they've done a good job with the brand split. And, as you said, there's multiple options to see where they end up heading. So we'll see if I'm 100% or not.
You need some water. You need some water and some aspirin and go to bed.
Let's be honest. It is 2:30 in the morning. I definitely need to go to bed.
Yes.
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 I'm not going to argue that.
So why don't you tease the next podcast then, damn it?
Okay. Next week we are going to do a list podcast. I can't tease it any more than that because I don't know what the list is going to be, but we will figure that out. In the meantime, from the home of the number 1 contender for the WWE title, Dolph Ziggler, and the home of the number 1 champion, Dean Ambrose, over to the home of Rikishi, because I don't know anybody else off the top of my head that is from San Francisco. Maybe Roman Reigns, the U.S.
He's from Florida.
Champion? Okay. Well, then there you go. I don't know. I am Josh Kiser. He is Josh Haddix, and he is Kyle Hoagland. And we will see you guys next week. Don't forget to go watch the WWE Network for SummerSlam this Sunday. It'll be a fun pay-per-view. Let's see who wins the prediction battle.
Have a good Friday.
PseudoNerdPod.com, Twitter and Facebook. See ya.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, subscribe. Leave us